You're about to embark on a journey for which no one prepares you. A journey into a territory where the ground shakes, reality's walls start to crack, and each step echoes with the potential for both catastrophe and revelation. This is not a sanctuary of comfort, nor is it a safe haven built on familiar certainties. It is, in fact, the silent stage where the true self is forged under relentless pressure. Imagine yourself approaching a precipice. There are no handrails, and the only thing that remains between you and the abyss is the naked courage to take one more step forward. Can you feel that chill crawling up your spine? That's the sign you're close to something real, because it is when the world starts to grit its teeth at you that you finally know you are pressing up against something that matters. It all starts quietly, almost imperceptibly. A nagging doubt here, a subtle discomfort there. No one really notices, not at first, not even you. Until suddenly, you realize you can no longer keep being the person you always were. It's not just a question of changing opinions or picking up new tastes. It's an unrelenting restlessness, something in your gaze that puts those around you on edge even if they try to hide it behind forced smiles, offhand jokes, or those classic pieces of advice disguised as concern. The truth is that they don't really want to see you change. Because your change, whether you intend it or not, is an uncomfortable reminder of just how terrified they are to even try. Do you get it now? What truly bothers people about you is not your newfound strength, but the mirror it unintentionally holds up. A mind that's truly resilient, autonomous, and self-sustained is the greatest threat to collective comfort and conformity. It's no exaggeration. All the systems of belief entangling us, the daily customs and rituals, they all require each person to fit neatly into their predetermined slots. The moment you have the audacity to step off the assembly line, it isn't the bosses or authorities who get nervous. It's the silent, suffocating discomfort that descends over anyone who dares to think, feel, and exist outside of the script. Awakening, however, is nowhere near a red carpet path to glory. Far from it, it throws you headlong into a kind of internal exile that hurts as if parts of you are being ripped out. Suddenly, that circle of friends once so dear feels distant, even alien. The shared topics vanish, and all that's left are gaps, awkward silences, angling looks. Ask yourself, when was the last time you allowed yourself to challenge your own limits without trembling at the idea you might be ridiculed or dismissed? The loneliness that begins to creep in at this stage, once dreaded, is in fact the unnegotiable price for forging something rare. A mind that will not bend, that cannot and will not fit where it doesn't belong. Most people confuse courage with fearlessness, but true courage resides in staying put when everything shakes, when the ground disappears beneath your feet. We are not born ready. There are no starter kits for unbreakable minds, no formulas for guaranteed happiness. Real strength is forged in pain, shaped in the cold sweat of sleepless nights. Those nights when nobody's watching, when all that exists is your raw vulnerability and hunger for change. Can you remember the last crisis you had? Not the kind you perform for instant empathy, but a direct and honest confrontation with your own insignificance. It was right there, precisely in that dark pit, that you planted the seed of what you could yet become. This is where nature asserts itself as the true master of inner evolution. It's not during the intervals of calm that we become exceptional. It's in the storms of doubt, in chaos and suffering. Chaos is not the enemy, it's raw material. Every time life shattered you without ceremony, that was the moment when you had the chance, the only real chance, to turn into stone instead of dust. But this is not about idolizing pain. This isn't feel-good self-help or poetic escapism. This is soul engineering, the gritty, bloody work of inner construction. Only when you accept the invitation of suffering without childish resistance, when you stop begging for an easier world and start wishing to become stronger, does something robust finally emerge in you. The deepest wounds carry, hidden within them, the exact tools needed to build your inner fortress. Arriving at this point already sets you apart. Minds shaped by chaos radiate a kind of presence that unsettles the endless theater of daily life. You need to understand, true strength isn't about feeling nothing or being untouched, but about choosing, again and again, to move through pain instead of being buried by it. It is alchemy, the art of transforming the shock of failure into stepping stones, leading to achievements that no one else can reach. While most people run from their own shadows, those who seek greatness learn to dance with them. Yet, there's a warning, a colossal one. Chaos without a center destroys rather than strengthens. Here lies the crucial point, a fork in the path. You must discover an inner core, your own unbreakable axis, capable of withstanding the storm, or risk becoming just another shipwreck tossed around by circumstance. And when everything that seemed absolute crumbles, when old certainties collapse under sharp questions, you look around and realize there is no higher sky to beg for answers from, no more gods to hold your hand. The universe now has to be born from within you. What are you to do when there's no longer a code of conduct to rely on? No soothing rituals when all responsibility lies squarely on your shoulders. This is the moment where lesser minds collapse, dumbfounded in the face of emptiness. But the rare few, those with enough nerve to stand inside the void, begin to forge a consciousness that cannot be battered or dulled. It is at this point, amidst the ashes of every excuse you've ever nursed, that a new fire is kindled. A brutal freedom, the absolute ownership of your own destiny. There's no more absolution, no more manuals. It's all or nothing. You either build yourself or you sink once and for all. Still, for all the terror that freedom can bring, it contains a power beyond compare. At the exact instant you realize nobody is coming to rescue you, a fresh urge pulls you outward, even if you're bleeding, afraid, or exhausted. Living solely by your own hand is no longer just a possibility. It is the only path worthy of you. It's not about acting out for others, but about elevating yourself on terms dictated by you alone. It is through abandoning every last existential crutch that the soil becomes fertile for something even greater. Something akin to a springtime for a new and rare breed of human, a soul that is almost impossible to categorize, utterly impossible to domesticate. A human who is not defined by belonging to the herd, who does not desperately seek approval. This is the sculptor of their own values, boundaries, and victories, and their very existence disturbs all those who remain in the shadow of dull conventions and trivial dogmas. This restless kind of being has a name, the indomitable, the builder of bridges, the surpasser. They reject the easy narrative of the tamed hero. They crave storms of the unprecedented, the fire of transgression. They don't seek permission to exist, nor do they ask for applause. Their mere presence is enough to shake up systems, to destabilize structures, to fracture untouchable patterns. Look more closely and you'll see. To become this kind of creator of self is a task for a rare few. It means forgoing every last drop of your need for acceptance. It means silencing the internal scream that once begged for applause or validation. You must surrender old pleasures, face the pain of not belonging, withstand the exile imposed by those who fear your light. Don't expect cheering crowds or casual fans. Prepare for sleepless nights. Prepare for a journey riven with doubts sharp enough to cut even the most convinced heart. Most people cannot handle this weight. They prefer returning to the warm womb of collective acceptance, where there are no risks, but also where no real victories are ever achieved. Most will give up before truly starting, allegedly protecting themselves, but in reality, handing over their own authenticity day after day. The further you rise, the rarer you become. The greater the isolation, the more intense the battle between the urge to belong and the longing to be free. The great philosophers understood this. No one emerges unscathed from this process. The higher the tower you build inside yourself, the more ferocious are the winds battering at your walls. Leaving the masses makes you strong, but it also makes you distinctively alone. And it is within this forced isolation that true rebels discover their final freedom. In a society that rewards obedience and humiliates authenticity, being sovereign over yourself is nothing short of revolutionary. And all this, every internal and external battle, rages at the bottom of the pit of solitude. They are cut off by deafening silence, and with no audience or judge, only you remain. Stuck with your own demons, your memories, your failures, and above all, an incorruptible will to not turn back. It's only on this ground, stripped bare of false comforts, that self-possession can take root. A sovereignty that cannot be bought, only stubbornly claimed through the violent friction of fear and courage colliding. It is in that desert that transformation grows most intense. Most people do an immediate about-face at the first sign of an empty horizon. They look for refuge in old circles, throw on new masks just to bear the sticky nearness of collective mediocrity. You, on the other hand, start to see there's no way back. Even if there was, it would now feel like an unforgivable betrayal of your own newly awakened awareness. The silence of isolation is not emptiness. It's the furnace. Every doubt that haunts you, every memory of who you used to be, becomes the raw material of brutal self-knowledge. You discover that to be misunderstood, rejected, even attacked, is not a curse. It's a filter. You simply cannot, even if you try, shrink yourself to satisfy the expectations of others. And the pain of this rupture is the price for self-possession, for the kind of integrity that can only settle in the wasteland of solitude. The rare few that pass through this fire are those who truly understand what freedom is. Not the freedom peddled in motivational slogans, but the harsh, radical variety that only exists when you consent to walk alone, and its cost is steep. Prepare to lose people, status, opportunities that depend on your willingness to submit. Those who remain in your life are not the ones who understand you fully, but the ones who respect your distance, your authenticity, your silence. You'll hear that you've become arrogant, cold, harsh, distant, strange, even crazy. They'll try to pull you back into the mold with furtive insinuations, sidelong glances, concerned advice. But here's a naked truth. Only those who can withstand loneliness are ready for freedom. Only the self-exiled win real autonomy. Slowly, you start to see what nobody else notices. You read between the lines, sense undercurrents. The truth that much of what passes for virtue is really paralyzing fear, that most friendships are nothing but packs of shared mediocrity. For one who walks alone, lucidity aches, but it's also beacon and guide, the shaper of a heightened sensitivity, the nerve to pierce through veils of superficiality. You gain access to layers of experience denied to the collective, either through fear, convenience, or sheer cowardice. At this stage, a new enemy surfaces, the invisible hostility of widespread mediocrity. It is not the open authoritarian or the classic tyrant who poses the greatest threat to your integrity. The real enemy is the constant, insidious pressure of conformity. It whispers through glances, jokes, tacit rules. It demands you keep yourself small, just so others don't have to grow. This is where the war becomes explicit. The moment you stand out, sometimes simply by thinking differently, you trigger the collective's automatic resistance. You instantly become a threat, not because you did something wrong, but because your existence exposes the laziness, the cowardice, the unfinished business of those around you. The cost of shining your own light is to illuminate the shadows everyone else tries to ignore. Watch how society deals with anyone who dares abandon the default script. Brilliance is almost always met with suspicion, as if genuine individual difference were a scandal. The collective mind twists everything. Strength becomes arrogance, ambition becomes selfishness, independence becomes aloofness, liberty becomes danger. Thus is born what sharper thinkers call herd morality, a tacit covenant to celebrate mediocrity, masked as altruistic virtue. Don't be fooled. This morality is not driven by compassion but by resentment. The desire is not to level upwards, but to drag down anyone daring to be more. At the faintest sign of individuation, attempts begin, small exclusions, deprecating jokes, awkward silences, all coordinated to make you question your value, to revert your assent, to dilute your authenticity. You become the exception simply by refusing to be another extra in a play that everyone else pretends to star in. Most people fold. They can't stand being the outlier, the oddball, the difficult one. They return to the easy average, quietly abandoning the promise to become something greater. But, and here's the secret reserved for the few, those that persist become necessary. By challenging routine, the strong provoke discomfort, yes, but they also crack open new space for the yet-to-be. Your cost is to be a target, but your legacy is to be the seed of the unreproducible and the indispensable. You need new weapons for this phase. Not physical arms, but mental ones. Clarity, resilience, meticulously trained indifference to empty noise, a sense of purpose crafted solely by and for yourself. You learn to distinguish shallow approval from real connection, to face exclusion without losing dignity, to hush insults by means of your presence, not your words. The price is steep. There are nights when everything seems to lose meaning, when the silence that surrounds authenticity weighs heavier than all the soft embraces of mediocrity. Friendships evaporate, opportunities that required a docile posture vanish, petty satisfactions lose their significance entirely. Ultimately, you relinquish the ability to be satisfied with little, to make do with emotional crumbs. And what do you gain instead? A core of integrity, of clarity, of silent strength, a force that stands unswayed, immovable even in the face of the fiercest storm. Then comes the breaking point, the realization that your lucidity, your refusal to play the customary roles, is intolerable to many around you. It is not your shout that echoes, but your vigilant silence that fills every space, compelling even the most skeptical to reconsider their own posture. Your presence, and especially your absence, both become signals that cannot be ignored. This kind of strength has only one source. It isn't taught in self-help books, isn't peddled in ready-made formulas, cannot be bought or inherited. It springs alone, in the barren soil of your sleepless nights, your hidden failures, your unseen internal battles. Nobody but you witnesses that war, but its outcome can be found in your steady stride, your unwavering gaze, your words, spoken freely, no longer diluted so as not to disappoint. When the world turns into a chorus, endlessly demanding your obedience, you silently refuse to cradle yourself in the easy comfort of acceptance. The power of unbreakability is the stubborn, violent refusal to betray your own conscience, no matter how much the world begs you to take the easier way out. And now, the real provocation. Are you willing to solidify this process? Only those exhausted by their own omission accept this kind of calling. In the comments section, dare to carve out a truth of your own. It can be something small, something explosive, or something known only by you. Declare, if only this once, what makes you unique, what breaks the expectations of others. Show that you refuse to bend, that the silence of the crowd does not intimidate you. Take this moment to declare that you are, brick by brick, constructing a mind that no one can manipulate or break. And remember, if this video touched you, don't stop here. The next content will challenge you even more deeply. You're not just here out of curiosity. The inevitable momentum of transformation has already begun in you. Keep going. You're not alone. You're simply a step ahead. That's frightening maybe, but more than that, it's liberating. If you made it this far, stake your presence. Show the algorithm of this digital universe, and more importantly, show yourself that you are not a mere passive observer, but the protagonist of your own awakening. Comment, share, spread this creative discomfort. The next phase requires even greater courage. I'll see you there.